Hey folks, today we're going to look at Daesh, or as the news call them, ISIS. Now, I could burrow into the story of how the weird, unique situation that allowed a group like ISIS like Daesh to thrive, but I am going to leave that story to my buddy Will over at Political Junkie News. What I'm going to show you is that Daesh are actually not very good Muslims. So to preface, I'm not a Muslim, nor am I an imam, but this does come from a report from a collection of imams qualified to discuss what does and does not follow Islamic law. That said, let's dig in. First of all, in Islam, those who are not Muslims, but under the category of people of the scripture, which includes Jews, Christians, and important for this case, Yazidis, can get an extra tax, but cannot be brutally murdered, displaced, or tortured. Muslims are not supposed to do many things that ISIS has not only done, but broadcasted and bragged about. This includes the wonderful list of horrors, such as denying women their rights, forcing conversion, disfiguring the dead, and destroying the graves of prophets and companions. ISIS also seems to lack an understanding of what jihad means. Jihad means struggle, and is purely defensive. Pushing smelly crusaders out of the Holy Land? Jihad. Planning to conquer the world? Not jihad. Jihad is not just a willy-nilly thing. There are actually quite a lot of rules, and it has to have a very good purpose. Ever hear the term, don't shoot the messenger? Well, it's a common code of ethics and part of Islamic law to not kill messengers, such as emissaries, ambassadors, or diplomats. Many imams feel that this also applies to journalists and aid workers. Despite what ISIS says, loyalty to a nation is actually permissible. In fact, since the Prophet died, Islam doesn't require anyone to emigrate anywhere. Also, ISIS, if you're listening out there are actually a lot of legal codes you forgot to read up on. Your list of legal issues include oversimplifying Sharia matters, ignoring Islamic sciences, disallowing disagreement in Islamic scholarship, giving legal rulings without mastery of Arabic, cherry-picking the Quran and hadiths to make legal rulings, reintroducing slavery after it was abolished. And of course, this all comes from the legal issue of plain just not considering the reality of contemporary times when making legal rulings. And there's one last one, and it's a big one. ISIS considers itself a caliphate, a very important word in Islam. I am going to pass off this particular infraction to my more politically inclined friend Will from Political Junkie News.
Hey Tristan, when the Islamic State declared a new caliphate in 2014, it was met with universal disdain. Everyone from world politicians, fellow Muslims, both Sunni and Shia alike, even other extremist militant groups fighting alongside them, criticized the declaration as fantasy. In the Islamic world, a caliph is the steward of the Islamic community, and a religious successor to the Prophet Muhammad. The first three caliphs after Muhammad's death in 632 were successful in expanding Islamdom, known as the Ummah, into the depths of the Persian and Byzantine empires. But the area of agreement basically ends there. A bit like the split in Christianity, Shia Muslims believe that the fourth caliph, Ali, the cousin of Muhammad, was the correct next caliph. When Ali was deposed by Muawiyah in 661, Shias believed the direct bloodline of Muhammad was drained from the caliphate. To put it shortly, no Shia Muslim would accept any Sunni caliphate, like ISIS is now declaring, much less an extreme one like the Islamic State. Now, among Sunni Muslims, the first requirement to be caliph is to be a descendant of the Quraysh tribe, like Muhammad, an Arabian clan from Mecca. Islamic State leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is from Iraq, so that's probably not the case. The general belief is that a caliph should be chosen by community consensus. Community consensus doesn't mean that everyone votes. Rather, it means that scholars and the powerful, a consultative council, decide. Al-Baghdadi actually built himself a cabinet and Sharia council into the infrastructure of ISIS, perhaps to fulfill this requirement. Nonetheless, it's clear the only consensus about ISIS is that it must be destroyed. It's clear that Baghdadi sees himself as the political and religious echo of the first few caliphs. The name he has given himself, Abu Bakr, is the same as the first caliph after Muhammad, who famously said, "If I do well, help me, and if I do wrong, set me right," which Baghdadi quite ironically repeated, "If you see that I am wrong, advise me and put me on the right track." saying those words as he ran one of the most violent and dissent-crushing organizations on the face of the earth.
Thanks, Will. By the way, if you aren't, subscribe to Political Junkie News. He's doing some really great work making today's politics make more sense. So to my friends out here in the West, I don't want you to think what ISIS is doing has anything to do with what Islam means. It's a huge religion with over 1,000 years of law, scholarship, and theology. So much so that ISIS really has little to do with what Islam is. Almost all the people fighting ISIS are Muslims themselves. And for God's sake, help those escaping refugees. They're trying to get away from all this. To counter the attention Daesh has been getting, post down in the comments something cool about Islam or the Islamic world. Psst, they invented algebra. And see what this massive religion is all about. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you in a fortnight.